It is a rather macabre headline, but it certainly caught my eye. It appears in New York Magazine. Take a look. Telegenically dead Palestinians. Why Israel is losing the American media war. Wow, now that is a bold headline. The latest Israel hit a Palestinian hospital full of patients and doctors. In all, 604 Palestinians have been killed. That's according to Gaza health officials. The United Nations estimates about 70% of them are civilians, including 4 little boys playing on a beach. Hollywood took notice. Selena Gomez was hit with an internet backlash after posting this to Instagram. It reads, "It's about humanity. Pray for Gaza." While some followers praised Gomez, others slammed her for taking a side in the conflict. And Gomez isn't alone. Sympathetic tweets from Rihanna and basketball player Dwight Howard were quickly erased after major league backlash. Israeli supporters quickly shamed these normally non-political celebrities to back down. And let's be honest, it is kind of a taboo conversation. All right, let's talk about this. With me now, Benjamin Wallace-Wells, who wrote that article in New York Magazine. Arsalan Iftikhar, the founder of themuslimguy.com and a commentator for National Public Radio. And Frank Sesno, director of the School of Media and Public Affairs at George Washington University. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So, Arsalan, I want to start with you.
Carol.
Can we have a reasoned conversation about Israel and Hamas?
No, we cannot. There's certainly a double standard today, especially on the social media landscape when it comes to anything dealing with Israel and Palestine, as we saw with Selena Gomez, NBA star Dwight Howard, Amari Stoudemire of the New York Knicks, who happens to be Jewish himself, all who tweeted things like Free Palestine or Pray for Gaza, and who were summarily lynched, virtually by online trolls until they were able to, delete those messages. And had they said something like Free Tibet or, free any other country in the world, I think that there would have been no backlash at all. And so I think that there is really no conflict on earth today that has more intellectual dishonesty than the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
But maybe things are changing. And Benjamin, I'm going to read your headline again. Telegenically dead Palestinians. Where exactly did that come from?
That came from Bibi Netanyahu. It came from the mouth of the Israeli prime minister. And on Sunday, he was complaining to reporters about the propaganda use that Hamas had been able to make out of all of those dead civilians, several hundred now. The following day, Avigdor Lieberman, the foreign minister of Israel, said that his country was going to push to ban Al Jazeera from operating within Israel. And so I think what we're seeing in Israel among the senior Israeli political leadership is a sensitivity to how this conflict is being portrayed. Those are the statements and actions not of leaders who think they are winning the argument, but of leaders who are very much on the defensive.
So Frank, has there been a shift in the way the media covers this conflict? Because we've been down this road many times before.
There's been a huge shift because it's not just the media covering the conflict now, it's every human being who has the capacity to cover the conflict. Because they can tweet something if they're there on the beach and they actually see something terrible happen, or they can retweet it if they receive a feed. And so this stuff goes out to millions of people. The New York Times, CNN, with all due respect, don't stand a chance against something like that. That's one thing. The second thing is the images and ideas and propaganda of war have always been a tool that traditionally governments own, and now citizens own them, citizens on all sides. And so that's what we've seen, and that is a very big difference.
But Arsalan, there may be a little tiny shift, but a CNN ORC poll shows Americans clearly still support Israel by a large margin. Take a look. 57% thinks Israel's action in Gaza is justified. 34% say it's unjustified. Do you agree with Frank?
Well, yeah, I think what's interesting, that Frank pointed out, is the disconnect between the mainstream media's coverage of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and social media's coverage of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I mean, if you look at, the hashtag Gaza under attack, it has, over 4 million tweets. Israel under fire, I believe, has something close to 170,000. And so if you look at international media outlets and their coverage of the conflict as opposed to our own American coverage, I think that you're going to see a night and day difference between how these issues are covered. And so I think a lot of people, a lot of social media activists are really showing their displeasure in our mainstream media's coverage of these issues in terms of taking the narratives back into their own hands via Twitter and Facebook.
And Benjamin,
Carol,
go ahead.
If I may, mainstream media, whatever you think of them, have always had certain standards about what a picture can contain, for example. CNN is not going to show horribly graphic, mangled bodies. There are no similar constraints on people who will get those pictures from wherever to put it out on their own, and so those gain a certain traction. Winston Churchill said, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets its boots on. Well, now a picture gets all the way around the world before an official version gets its iPhone on. And so it's the pace and it's the dimension of these images that are going out, and it's really changed the psychology.
I wish I could continue this conversation, but I got to go. Benjamin Wallace-Wells, Arsalan Iftikhar, Frank says no thanks to all of you. I really appreciate it because I think it's an important conversation. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Carol Costello at this hour with Berman and Michaela after a break.